think that we've talked about, that yes, this is actually going to be impacting education, and we think it's a wise thing to do. We don't know what that total is. So we have it sort of, and I'm interested in what actually is we think this is providing the right education for our kids, what's the number? And if it's another percent, great. If it's a 0.5%, great.
Right,
If it's
right.
another 2%, I want to know the number.
Okay.
Because, then we can talk about how do we manage that? But if I don't know the number,
Okay.
it's harder.
It is hard. And I also think because of these unknowns, I'm hoping what we have in front of us for numbers, for revenue or a worst case scenario.
I'm
Right,
hoping to.
Right, hoping.
Yeah, we're all hoping to,
But the dark yellow number does
Yeah.
change because the revenue changes.
So
in our,
on the revenue number and the lateness of it,
yes.
when we had a negative tax impact, so when we ended up getting a revised revenue number, and then we got no benefit of it. In fact, what we got was,
Right.
in fact, what we got was a reduced baseline, which made our following year number look higher.
Artificially higher.
Yeah.
Because now you had a lower baseline. We're likely to get, if we get additional funds, and we might, it's gonna come late. And I think we ought to think about how we want to handle that. And there are some things in our budget that you can delay and not delay. And I think we ought to
Well,
consider
that brought
our
me to the
approach.
timeline conversation.
Yep.
So we are presenting our budget to the town council on Tuesday, April 25th.
Mhm.
4 weeks from now. I'm not hearing that we're going to get a final number from the state till after that. We may get an insurance number.
Right, we should next week.
And then the retirement costs are also due to state
There-
budgetary issues, and that's gonna be late.
The rate for the retirement system has been decided, and it is an increase of 3.97 from 3.36%. So I think I calculated
Is
that
that
to be.
in here?
No,
No,
it was recent.
And so
it
that's
was
a,
after,
okay, so that's
that.
not in our favor according to these numbers.
no, it's not. It's like an increase of 70,000 or
Right, I
something.
remember now. So now all of them will be.
No, so maybe a revised sheet.
Right. So that brings us back to the philosophy, and I'm hearing from Susanna, I've heard from John, I've heard from Barbara, that they think that the 1.6 is thin, but will it look like at 2.6 is the proposal on the table?
It sounds like there are like two proposals. There's John, which is, let's talk about the priorities that department heads have brought forth that aren't in the budget currently, and we'd like to know what that would cost. And then the other proposal is adding 1% and seeing what you get for it.
With their best
Yes.
decisions.
Dear businessman,
One of John's requests was to know what the costs are, and in your handouts is a sheet showing initial proposals not included. And it does tell you, it shows you the total cost of 5 ed techs, divide that by 5 and you get the individual costs.
Right.
This should give you some idea of how much any changes would be.
yes,
$1,260,000.
all right.
That's if you wanted to add all of them back in.
But as Howard pointed out, I'm not quite sure we in a public session want to go through positions
No,
and
no.
prioritize.
No, that
but
was just for your
for our
benefit,
own
so you
edification. I just
can.
wanted to
Oh, good point.
dissuade
Yeah, no, good
that
point.
type of conversation, but just sort of from the board, bringing it back. So 2 suggestions on the table, so with John trying to figure out, what it would look like. And then if we put some of those back in, bottom line, and then from Barbara, if we did it, bumped up of 1 point, what does that allow? Do you
We
need
can
more
do-
guidance from us than that?
No, we can do both of those by next week.
Both of those.
Yep.
And although, and I completely understand and appreciate the wish to not have any discussion that would make people feel uncomfortable and that sort of thing. I feel really strongly about bringing back a discussion that I was a part of. And it was centered around the ed tech discussion. And it involved both administrators, it involved teachers, I was there, Howard was there, and I don't believe the board.
Mark was there.
Pardon?
Mark was
Mark
there.
was there.
I'm sorry, Mark, you were there. Mark was there. I said teachers, he's a teacher. I don't know, I don't feel like the board needs to be sold on the fact that we're not really properly delivering RTI at Pond Cove right now, and understanding how much that just three, not even the full 5, but 3 would make a difference. But it also dovetails with a really difficult time that teachers are having with planning and prep time. And it's not just about, oh, they need to just go, sit and read a book. That's not what we're talking about.
No.
We're talking about that ability to actually apply and plan for RTI, and discuss GT, however we go forward with GT, that's also, so.
There's some real impacts to
There
student
is,
learning.
and so
in
I
those
just, I
3
felt it
positions.
important to bring that conversation back to the board, that, at this time, that group wasn't advocating for, the pie in the sky, all 5. The impact could really be made with 3.
And that was a very small portion of the 240K that we've been asked to
So,
see what would
I
happen
just,
with
I
that.
do wanna bring that up for, everybody's consideration, that I guess, hopefully that might be part of the conversation that you all have. One of many, as, I know we don't have to, the additional custodian is in there now, the one.
Could I ask one question about that? I'm sorry, go back to the question, please. But I was looking at when we had thank you for your handouts, by the way, they're wonderful. The staff and enrollment, like over the years, it looked like our numbers, like custodian numbers, had been relatively the same, and I know there was a proposal for 2 initially, it dropped to 1. Is there a change that is sort of inviting the need for an additional custodian, or
Is there
have
a
we just
greater
not
need?
been keeping up?
Was it
Over the years,
Really
it's
bad shape in 99?
Yes, Howard.
My impression is that the high school is just understaffed and has been understaffed for some time.
For some time, yeah.
And the other schools, I think the other 2 schools, if I'm right, grade fields are close to being staffed properly. And I forget the square footage comparison, but whatever that is, the high school does not have that same number of custodians per square feet.
Yeah.
And what I think is added to the challenge has been the community center. And I know that that's a town facility, and I know that this is the one-town concept, but believe me, that has caused the custodial staff as a whole additional work at odd hours, because those
And the library,
those
too.
pools close late. And then there's the library. So the problem is compounded by trying to do all this town and school work. I mean, I think I've said it before, I really think this whole arrangement is ripe for a serious review. Mhm. But the high school, I've heard it more than once this year, I believe, that it's just understaffed for custodial, and has been.
And has been, yeah, I think that's probably.
Was that what you remember?
I think it was 7 to 5, 7 middle school, 5 high school. And the square footage was almost identical.
And the staff at the middle school, do they do Pond Cove as well? or is
That's the
that-
one
Or,
complex.
Yeah. middle school.
PCM.
Okay.
Yes, PCMS.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
I guess so I just wanted to circle back, because on Howard's list, there were some that are already in the budget, so they don't need to be considered additions, like the additional custodian is in there.
Yes.
And
Half of a gifted and talented is in there.
half of a gifted and talented is in there. And Jeff has indicated that the high school social worker seems to possibly be able to be worked out.
At a no budgetary impact, because there was a .4 that they were paying for, she's left, there was a .6 who's staying, the .6 may
Become the point.
become the
so it's a
.1. So
point
that's
four
a
is a
budget neutral
pretty-
decision.
Are we getting that right?
No.
Was that our
Not
wishful
even
thinking?
close.
So there have been.
He's not even close, he says.
No, no, there have always been, well, not always. As long as I've been here, there have been 2 full-time social workers, 2 FTEs in the high school.
Mhm.
What's in the budget right now is 1.6.
Right.
So it's the
Oh,
2
okay.
minus the
Point
A
four.
point four.
0.4, which represents the person who, the position currently occupied by the person who's resigning. So
Mhm.
that was taken out at an early stage.
Got it.
It was an attrition.
Only because
savings.
somebody's
Yeah,
retired.
exactly.
Right.
And we thought, let's not
Okay.
fill that right
Okay.
now until we find, and so we found out that was a real bad idea.
Right.
And so we're trying to,
So it's the
Make-
I guess
.4.
the only reason I was kind of bringing that up is
It's not a full
you had,
position.
you had indicated that there might be a way within your budget without having to add on to
Yeah.
remedy that
We
problem.
Think we may have come up with
There's some moving
something.
targets.
Right, and
Yes.
I'm not holding anybody to this, I guess I'm just trying to
right,
help
that's a good
the,
point.
help the board kind of zero in on the list that is additional, not the list that is either possibly worked out within the current budget or already in the
You see-
current budget. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So that would include,
Did we take out the
The assist-
interventionist at the middle school?
That is not in the budget.
So see, that's not in the budget
That
right
is
now.
an old
The
position that we-
interventionist position at the middle school, again, somebody left that job, so we took
Mm-hmm.
that out. So Mike has said he really would love to get the interventionist, I think it's a math position, back in the budget.
Yeah.
right, we did.
That's not in the budget. The additional
No.
teacher is not in the budget for the
Correct.
8th grade. The other half-time gifted and talented, assuming we're gonna go to full-time, is not in the budget. The 3 ed techs are not in the budget.
So on the 8th grade teacher, however, I thought that was the position we were
That there was
working
a
out.
possibility of working that
floating
out.
Yeah,
maybe a high
that
school.
is.
That could be budget neutral.
No, it just won't be a full, we think it would not be a full-time cost, it'd be a part-time cost.
Okay.
Okay.
So sorry to interrupt.
No, no,
Clarifying.
What cost is in for technology right now, Kathy?
It's just under 124,000 for
So
the
that's
iPad.
a iPad Pro.
Yeah.
that's correct.
Okay. 124.
Okay.
So it sounds like, Howard, that your team could fulfill kind of both ways of attacking this.
Oh, we will, we'll do both.
If you had 1% more.
Right, 1%
and-
more will not get everything we're talking about.
Right.
That's fine, but we'll talk about what we can get, what we think it would be the best way to expend that money.
I was gonna say, and
And we'll know more about the
prioritize
position
the real
between the middle and the high
student-
school.
the
We'll-
student-facing
Right, and then we
stuff.
can give you the, if we were gonna do what we think would be recommended, everything being equal, we'll give you that list too. And tell you, show you that and the total cost of that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And is it fair to ask at this juncture, or is it just an unfair ask? Is, if we were to look at, as Elizabeth was pointing out, staffing the student-facing expenditures of the ed techs and the student, and the GT full-time, and looking at some of the other non-student facing support pieces in the budget as trade-offs?
I just
Or do
wouldn't-
you feel like
I
you've
just
already
wouldn't
done
want
that
to-
exercise?
No, we haven't. If I understand your question, we have not done that exercise. The problem with doing that one is that you can't go very far with it without getting,
To the bone?
really identifying positions, and I just don't want to have a morale problem that, unless
Right.
it's where we end up.
Oh, I
But there-
agree.
Oh, I
I'm
agree.
even just looking at this list, and I know it's near and dear to your heart, and you're gonna probably punch me after the camera goes off, and I'm okay with that, I'm a big girl. But
I'm so not.
so when, like an assistant for nurses, like, where do you put that on the priority list versus the ed, you know what I mean? Like, that's not a student facing.
No,
And that's not a person that's employed now, so no one's feelings are getting hurt. I
Right.
can say that on camera.
right. Exactly.
I think that
Yep.
might be, I'm leaning
Oh,
kind
we
of where
we can
Joe
do
is
that.
going.
I thought you were talking about if we were gonna trade program for program.
No, no, no.
No,
No, I
I think
was
looking
thinking
at
of
this,
creative ways
Oh,
of
oh, no,
looking at
no, no, we can do
technology
that.
needs, creative ways of
We
looking
can,
at some
we
of
can
the
rank order this.
facilities.
Rank
If you want to
order.
rank order this baby,
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
we can do that. I just didn't want to trade programs.
No,
I mean, I will do that, but not without a
I think
direction.
let's just get rid of science, right?
Okay.
No science teachers here. Social studies.
I think it's social
so-
studies. I think
And
that's
Just
what-
the-
literature.
Just the fake side.
Right.
So
Right.
certainly
Fake science.
prioritizing student-facing
Right.
programs, student-facing positions.
Yep, we can, yeah, we will rank order it.
Okay,
I mean, for John's question about everything, we will rank order everything.
wonderful.
Mhm.
Do you need more guidance from
No.
us as a board, or do you
No.
feel that you have enough
Does
to?
that feel
No,
like?
this
Go
is,
back
this is really
for-
helpful. I mean,
Okay.
we needed the direction, we've got it.
Okay.
Wonderful.
When you see where the 1%, the 2%, so forth
Yep,
falls
yep.
in your list, that'd be great.
That is- I think that helps all of us.
Terrific.
Really appreciate it.
And hopefully we know more by the time we reconvene next week.
Mhm.
And some of those, you know, are there any other agenda items that we need to get to?
Well, I just want to make sure I understand this. I mean,
We have.
what
we
what
have
I'm
added
used
a
to,
meeting,
April 4th.
April 4th.
well, what I'm used to is that
At
once
5 o'clock.
a budget goes to the voters and it's approved,
Thank you.
that you are
Remember
not,
policy discussions?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Howard's trying to.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to be sure that we're all thinking the same way. What I'm used to is that when a budget is approved by you and then by the voters, that you do not have the, you have no option to spend more money than was approved by the voters.
Correct.
Correct? Isn't that how you understand it?
That is true.
Okay. And if additional revenues come in after the budget has been set to be voted on, my understanding is that the town council is going to decide if that money can, what happens with that money? And what
Right.
option that they have, I'm
If-
sorry.
If we don't do anything and we do get more in subsidy, it goes to our unassigned fund balance. You don't have to do anything, seriously. I know, really, I've,
Before.
huh?
That's never happened
Yeah, that
before.
hasn't,
Been returned
That's
tax.
And
Never
that's why
has
I'm,
happened.
I
That's what I
will
did.
confirm with a lawyer friend of mine who works for Drummond and Woodson, but my training was that if you don't do anything, any extra money you get goes to the unassigned fund balance. But if you've noticed in years, the council has always had a vote. I believe 2 years ago, the council voted to use the money towards taxes. They have to they have to specifically vote to lower the taxes. If they don't vote or do anything, it goes to the school department's unassigned fund balance.
Correct. So that's where the rubber hits the road and the rub is that it's not up to us to vote for that. It is up to the town council because they are the fiscal agent for the district that's receiving the money for the state.
So if they,
So we have asked for them to not vote that way, and they have respectfully declined in order to give tax relief to the citizens.
Every time.
Every time.
and I do believe last year, I suggested that you don't have to do anything, you don't need a vote. I believe that, if I'm remembering correctly, someone on the council asked, how come we're not voting on this? So, that is the issue. I would prefer just don't vote, and then it goes to your unassigned fund balance, and we'll be better off for next year, but,
For relief the next year.
yeah.
And I'm wondering if, I'm an incrementalist, if there's a way to perhaps discuss with the town council to do maybe a split the difference, if there is, just to sort of get them used to the idea that maybe we could help shore up our undesignated fund balance, which ultimately helps relieve the
Taxes.
taxpayers moving forward, but then also gives some immediate relief. It could, a win-win. Is that possible?
It sounds logical to me, but I have to check with the lawyers to get the actual language that would be needed.
Okay.
But I wouldn't do that until we get some feedback from the council saying that they would be even willing to do
Entertain
that.
it.
Yeah,
And I also think it depends on where we ultimately propose coming in. If we're coming in with a combined 6.8 and we get more revenues, of course it should go against taxes.
Mhm.
You know, so I mean, that could kind of be our commentary too, if we choose to do
Right.
that.
I agree.
Right.
But I guess, so I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I guess also, I want to be sure we're all in agreement that once you set a dollar amount, and it includes all of that, it includes, and the council can set a total dollar amount. You have the authority to decide how you expend the money that the voters approve. But if we all of a sudden, after the budget's been set by you and the town, find that we're gonna get another $100,000, it doesn't mean that we have the chance to now go back and add that to the expense of that's ship sailed.
Yep.
Right.
Right, good.
So it makes me want to clarify this point with the town council up front. You know, because if they're gonna say, no, if you get any money back, then we want it to go to the taxpayers, if that's their answer, then I'm gonna say, let's raise it to 3%. I mean, if they're not
But
gonna-
you're forgetting an
Is that a
interesting
motion?
step
Yes,
in the
it's a motion.
process.
I'm tired.
An interesting step in the
But
process
anyway.
is the town council approves the number that goes to the voters. And as you recall, a few years ago, they sent it back to us because they
And
felt
wanted
that it
it
was
to be a smaller number.
much smaller.
No,
Like
I
zero.
remember all that.
Right.
Yeah.
Although we
So-
have no obligation to send them any particular number. We can send them whatever
Right.
number as many times as we like.
Right.
That's, I guess, my point. That's where I'm trying to go with my motion.
Okay. Thanks for your help tonight.
If there are no other agenda items, I think that this meeting is adjourned.
Can we all talk for a second?
Wonderful. Thank you.
We have more.